Hey guys, I'm back at it with another video, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys tips and tricks about PUBG Mobile, aka the ultimate guide. Now, the first thing that I'm going to be teaching guys is how to find your sensitivity. It's the most important thing in the game, and a lot of people just ignore it, or they use default, or they just go find their favorite creators and they just use their sensitivity. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would highly recommend you using your own sensitivity that you found that you like the best, right? Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go and you want to get a gun. So I would recommend using the M416, right? It's probably the best gun to be, trying to find your sensitivity with, because it's the, most consistent, right? So once you grab your M4, you're going to come over here and you're going to grab an extended mag, right? I already have one on it, but yeah. And then you can grab attachments for it, right? But just make sure you don't put them on yet. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab a bunch of ammo. So I'm going to grab a bunch of ammo right here. And you want to come stand about in between these two platforms. Then you're going to want to go over to, and you're going to want to look at the 30 M board, right here. And you're going to want to start shooting at it. You want to try and control your recoil. And I would recommend you shooting this square that's in the very middle, right? So once you can control your recoil there, you want to move over to the 40 board. Once you can control your recoil on the 40 board, then you want to move over to the 50. And same thing, you want to move over to the 60, and then 70, and then 80, and 90, and then 100. And you want to be doing this with the red dot, right? And so once you get to like the 90, 80, and 100, right, and even the 70, you just want to keep it on the black target, because you're not going to be able to keep it in the circle, right? You just want to keep it on the black target as best as you can, right? Now once you do that with the red dot sight on, once you've done all these, then you want to go switch to your 2x, right? And you want to do the same thing. Go with 30, stay in the lines. And you want to move over to 40. Do that. And then 50, and then 60, 70. And same thing all the way through. Right, and you're going to do this for every scope up until the 6x, right? So once you get to the 6x, you want to be, right now I've got a 3, but this is what it should look like. And you want to be able to control that recoil, right? And so once you can control that recoil with the 6x, you then want to go and put your attachments on your M4, right? So whether that be a flash guard, compensator, suppressor, thumb grip, vertical grip, half grip, whatever you want, right? You just need attachments on it to lower the recoil. Now, I recommend you using the compensator, thumb grip, and tactical stock, right? Best attachments, in my opinion, for the M4. So now, you're going to notice the massive recoil reduction that you will see when you have the attachments on, right? So it's going to be a lot easier to hit these longer shots and keep it controlled, right, with the attachments on. Now, you're going to want to, then you do the same thing like before with the attachments on those. So go through each one of these targets with each scope until you can master them and get it so the recoil is basically in this little square right there. Now, once you've done that with the attachments on and with the attachments off for each scope, and you found your perfect sensitivity, right, you're going to then want to go to a rifle like the AKM, or AK for short. right? And I would recommend you only putting like a 2x at max, right? So I have iron sights on it, so you can either just have iron sights, a hollow, a red dot canted sight, or a 2x. Those are the sights that I only recommend for the AK, since it has pretty high recoil. And now you're gonna want to try and keep the AK bullets in the center. And then you're going to want to do this up until the 60 mark, right? Because once you can get it where you can keep all the AK bullets within the black dot, like the entire person on the 60 board, then you've mastered automatic rifles. And I would say you can, as long as you practice this every day for at least 10 to 15 minutes, you should be good. And I would practice this before before you start your games, like, at the beginning of the day. That's when I would recommend you actually practicing. Now, if you like sniping, so snipers or like DMRs, right? So I'm just gonna use it through AMW for this. But if you do like snipers, then I would recommend you using the 6x, 8x, and halfway on the 4x for the sensitivities, right? So obviously you can't put an 8x on a rifle, so the 8x is only going to be for snipers, right? So right now my 8x, it doesn't move too fast because it's for sniping, right? But once I go to my 6x, it's going to move a little faster. That's because I use it for DMRs. I'll get to those in a second, right? And then once I get to my 4x, it's going to be a bit faster, right? As you can see. Now the reason why I have my 4x so fast is because if I have a 4x on my M4, I can control the recoil enough, right? And now, because I really like sniping, I don't use a full 6x zoomed in all the way on my M4. I don't do that, right? So that's why I don't, have it, the sensitivities set for spraying. Now, another great thing about sniping is DMRs, right? There's a few really popular ones, like the MK14, the Mini 14, SKS, right? And now these are called DMRs, aka I forget what they're called, but they're called DMRs, right? And now, basically, they're the exact same as the sniper rifle, but they're semi-automatic. What that means is you can continuously tap the fire button, and they will fire, right? So, they're not bolt actions like the AWM, as you see here, right? And now, what I would recommend for a DMR is a sniper compensator, because it helps with recoil a lot. A thumb grip or a vertical grip works best, and then a stock works fine, right? Now, you're gonna want to again practice about you can, if you really want to, practice about keeping it, centered, but DMRs are not really that hard to. But what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to practice shooting all these targets and hitting them with one shot and not missing, right? So you're gonna want to be able to, quickly change targets and lead targets, if that makes sense. So you're gonna want to do that, right? And once you can master all of these areas, I would say you're a sufficient person to shoot guns, right? Now, if you really want to get technical with it, you can go over to this pad right here, hit training. you can either hit a reaction or standard. I prefer standard. And then I would customize it to have the first 3 selected and have the number of training rounds at 3. Have the health at 300 and have the movement speed about a quarter of the way up. And then have no helmet, no vest. And then have every body part effective. Right? Now, what this is going to do is it's going to make it so you have to actually try and lead your shots with this, right? So it's going to give you experience. And also this works, you can use this with M4s or bolt action snipers. It works the same way. Yeah, so, you can complete this and you can customize it however you want. But yeah. So that's the basic idea of finding your sensitivity for every single, gun, right? Now, there's one section I have not covered yet. It's shotguns. Shotguns are a touchy subject because you can only really use them in close range, right? So they're not typically used in like the mid to long range, if that makes sense. So you're not going to be like shooting at a target like this far away with the shotgun. Like that's kind of absurd, if that makes sense. So like these houses over here, that's where you want to be using a shotgun around those houses. Like when you hot drop into Pachinki, you want to be using a shotgun there, right? Also, you can use SMGs at like anywhere in time. Most SMGs I would not recommend you using in like squads because there's 4 people instead of and most SMG mags only will kill 1 person, so they're not really a help to defeat a squad, right? But yeah, that's the basic idea of finding your sensitivity. Also, here is my sensitivity if you guys want it. So just take a screenshot, right? Yeah, so this is my sensitivity. And then so if you're gonna use gyroscope, which it's just a feature that makes it so you have to go into your basic settings and you have to scroll down a little bit and it says gyroscope. I have mine as always on. It just makes it so if you hold your phone and you tilt it in a certain direction, like down and up, your phone will rotate like that, right? So yeah, and then if you do use gyroscope, I would recommend you turning your camera sensitivities only the ones that have scopes on them to 1%, and then your ADS sensitivities the only ones that have scopes on it to 1%. Again, it just makes life a lot easier, right? Now, so once you've done all this stuff, you're probably gonna be wondering about how should I throw grenades? How should I use cars, movement, and all that stuff, right? So the thing about grenades is if there's a guy in a house, like I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you an example. But if there's a guy in a house and he's behind a window and he's not going to peek out, you're going to want to throw a grenade, right? And there's like timing, not timing, tricking the enemy, and all that sort of stuff. So if I didn't have an actual grenade, right, like a real frag grenade, what I can use is I can use a smoke grenade to trick my enemy, right? So if I go over here, I can show you that it is a pretty cool trick, right? So if I'm in this house, right, and my enemy is in the other house, and I don't have any real grenades, but I need to make him run somewhere so that way he'll go out where I can shoot him. What I can do is I can throw a smoke grenade right here. Right, I can throw it into that window, right? So then he'll think it's a real grenade, and then he'll run away, right? Also, smoke grenades, they can cover windows, so I can push up on an enemy, and then I can surprise him, and then I can kill him right here, right? Also, timing grenades is very, very important. So if I'm like behind, let's say, this structure right here, and I wanted to kill an enemy who is behind this wall, like to the right of the window, I would start cooking a grenade. I would realize, okay, 3 seconds, and I would throw it. And then see how it explodes right when it gets in? That's what you want. If you want it to bounce a little bit inside, then you want to throw it around 4 seconds. Right? Also, Molotovs, right? So right now I'm covering the basics of every single grenade, right? Molotovs. They're not really hard to get, but they're just hard to find, right? If that makes sense. Like, if you need them, you can't find them, but if you don't need them, you'll find them, right? So, Molotovs, what they'll do is they make a big, well, they normally make a huge flame. It's about like the size of this entire area around here, right? Now, with that being said, if I threw a Molotov like about here, it'd cover from here around here and then into this room, right? So then that means anyone in this room would be dead, right? So those are the grenade basics. There, I taught you about your sensitivity and vehicles. Oh yes, vehicles. So I'm gonna go show you guys each vehicle, how they work, pros and cons, and yeah. If you if you have any questions or concerns, comments, whatever, just leave them out down below in the comments, and I will get to them as fast as I can. Okay, let's start on the right here. So on the right, we have a regular motorcycle, right? Two-wheeled, goes about 120 to 40 miles an hour, right? Does not have that much protection, as you will see right here. I'm pretty much open, right? And it can fit 2 people on it, one on the front, one on the back. This is a snow motorcycle. Basically, it's like on the map Vikindi, which no longer exists. It was a better version of the regular motorcycle because you could actually travel in the snow much faster, right? It was a 2-person bike, right? And yeah, it went in the snow. This was the jet, the snow jet, whatever you call it, right? It was also in Vikendi. Basically the same thing, fits 2 people. Just basically another version of the motorcycle. Now this is the 3-seated motorcycle. Now one thing that these 3 bikes cannot do, that this one can, is you can shoot out of it, right? So when you're sitting in the front, I cannot access my gun. When I'm shooting in the when I'm sitting in the side, even if I'm pressing my guns, I cannot access them. If I am sitting in the third the sidecar, which I cannot do right now, I would be able to access my guns and shoot people. So yeah. Now this is the wagon car from the map Sanhok, right? So it is a 3-person, again, right? But when you're sitting in the back 2 seats, you can access your guns. So that is a good thing, right? And yeah, it doesn't go too fast. It goes like 50 miles an hour. It's not that great. Next car, the buggy, can be found on any map has the least fuel drain, even when you're boosting, right? It is a two-person, right? So you can sit in the driver's seat and drive, or you can be on the back and you can be shooting people, right? And you can you can turn yourself all the way around on this one. So yeah. Next is, I think that's the Murado. Yeah, and it is a 4-seat car, right? Can be found on the map Miramar, right? And they have a few different versions of this. They have this one, which is the drop top. It has no top on it, and you can sit in any of the 4 seats, and you can shoot out any of the sides. Next one, same thing as the last one. It's another Murado, except for this one has a top on it. And yeah, there's also a golden version of this at the place Hacienda del Patron on Miramar. Same thing. 4 seats. You can shoot out of any of the 3 except for the drivers. Yeah. Now, this is the Dacia. Same thing as the Murado, except for it goes much slower. Like the Murados, they go about 160. The Dacia goes about maybe 100, right? And you can shoot out of any sides, right, except for driver's seat. And yeah, not too much there. Just average car. Now, the pickup truck. It has the 2 seats in the front, right? As you can see here, you can shoot out of the front seats and the back seats. In the back seats, you just sit on the sides here, right? Next, and that can only be found on Miramar. This, the slightly upgraded pickup truck. It can be found only on Miramar. 4 seats again, and yeah, same thing as most of the other cars. Pretty average. Now, here we go. The Jeep can be found on any map. It's basically used by most squads. It's the ultimate car, really. You have the most coverage, biggest vehicle, has the most health, does like a decent speed, right? I think it's 120-ish, right? Solid car. Amazing vehicle. Now, this is the tour bus. I do not know why they added it, but apparently they did. There is 6 seats in here, and you can only have 4 people on the team, so kind of confuses me. But yeah, you can sit in any one of the seats, and you can shoot out of any one of the sides, right? Except for the driver's seat, right? And yeah, it goes pretty slow, has a really bad turning radius, and does really terrible with gas mileage. Yeah. And final car of the day is the BDRM, aka the Armored Tank. This beautiful beast of a car can only be summoned outside of the zone, like the safe circle. It can only be summoned outside of that with a flare gun, right? So you have to be pretty lucky, and it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to drop, so you better be quick about it. Also, this thing goes in the water. It is completely bulletproof, so no one can shoot through it, right? So all these windows, nothing will be able to break them, not even an AWM bullet. The tires, you have to shoot like 250 bullets into them to pop them, right? As opposed to like a regular car where you just one shotgun bullet will do it, right? So it's as opposed to one shotgun bullet for these, this one takes like a lot, right? And this thing, it drives very smoothly, goes in the water. It's beautiful, right? So those are all your cars, and yeah. Now some tips and tricks. When using a car, if you and your squad are being shot at, right, and you don't have cover, let's just say the enemy's this way, you can jump out and lay down behind your car. Now you have cover. If the enemy wants to blow up your car, you want to get about this far away from your car. You want to be at least 5 meters away, because if you're 5 meters away, you will not die in the explosion, right? And so I do not recommend using this car at all. I would recommend you picking something up like a pickup truck, a Dacia, any of the bigger cars, really, because, I mean, you don't really have too much cover behind the Morados as opposed to, like, one of the big trucks, right? Also, you do have to be aware that enemies can shoot under the car. And so some things of what people like to do are they like to pop the tires, right? Now the car is even lower to the ground, and it's even harder for them to hit you, right? And you can still drive the car, it's just a little bit slower, right? So you can drive backwards, I can drive forwards, right? And then it's, I can drive around, and say a guy's on my left side, right? Turn like this, I get out, and I drop down. Now I'm perfectly hidden from them, and they can't hit me, right? Also, if a guy is on your left side shooting you, and you're the driver, right, and you don't have anyone in the car with you, all you have to do is just change the seats and exit, and now you're on the right side, and you're protected, right? So now, that's all you have to do. So there were some tips and tricks about cars, and now about cover, right? So probably the last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about today is cover. Right, so I already said, about how you can make cover with the car. You can also make cover with a smoke grenade, right? So some cool things that you can do is you can make a circle with your cars. Like, so you can have a car here, a car here, a car here, and a car here, right? And that'll make a circle, and if you pop all their tires, they will not be able to move, right? Right, so the cars are going to be right here, right? And if the enemy blows up the car, that means you have a solid wall, right? So then the enemies can't come in, and so you're protected, right? And plus, if you throw smoke grenades, it blocks the enemy's sight. So if I'm out in the middle of the open, right, behind this ridge, trying to protect myself, if I throw a few smoke grenades, right, and I run back towards these buildings, right, now they don't know where I am, and I can go figure out a different place to go attack them from, right? So then I can come up on this ridge, for example, right, come around the place where I was getting shot at, and because I know where the enemy is, right, they don't know where I am, because they can't see me. Now, I come up here, and I can start shooting at them, right? So as if they were over there, I could start shooting at them, and yeah, that's another tip, right? And so, yeah. Also, if you're gonna push someone, I would recommend you pushing together, like with your squad, right? So if it's just you and another guy, right, what you want to do is, if you get a knock or 2 knocks, you want to push that, like, really, really, really hard. Like, it's pretty easy to, like, not push, knocked people, because you don't want to die. But in reality, it's the enemy who you've knocked. They are really worried, because it's like, if they push you, then they have 2 people downed, and they may only have 1 guy up, and if he dies, the entire team dies, right? So it's like, if I knock a guy over here, and I want to be pushing up, right? And I still want to be looking at these windows, because if I see a guy, I want to be able to start shooting at him to draw his fire away from my teammates who are pushing up, right? Because I want to be flanking around. Okay, so yeah, that concludes my tutorial or guide, I guess, on how to be better at PUBG. If you want like a tactics guide or anything else on PUBG or Call of Duty mobile, yeah, just let me know in the description down below, and I'll make sure to let it happen. If you want like a gun guide, just tell me. I'll get you like the best attachments for it. I'll get you the best times to use it. Yeah. So without further ado, later.